Welcome, friends, to the Here I Go Again podcast, where we discuss life, faith, politics, and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Rob Standridge, and I'm glad you're joining us today. So with that, here we go. Welcome to the Here I Go Again podcast. This is our 12th, a good dozen episodes, and we're welcoming today Robert Wolf, physician, see if I get this right, neuroradiologist and author. And I'll just tell you, he's got an awesome book, Not a Real Enemy. Sorry, I almost forgot the title. I've actually started reading it. I haven't finished it. It's an excellent book. We're having Robert on to talk to us about his book and all his other projects that he's working on. So welcome, Robert, and let us know how it's going in your neck of the woods.
Thanks for having me, Rob. I appreciate it. You got a great first name. Same first name, popular back in the day. It's an honor and privilege to be here. Thank you for your service, too. Much appreciated by more than a handful of us, believe it or not. I appreciate that so much. Actually, and this is my 130th podcast and my 200th book event overall, and, when you include podcasts and book presentations and radio and TV interviews. So this is a special, plus it's Juneteenth today, and it's Father's Day weekend, and we're in our 250th anniversary of the birth of our nation, which is fantastic. Just another week or two. I'm Rob Wolf. Like you said, I'm a neuroradiologist. I just retired from radiology after 35 years in practice in the business. 44 years all in when you include college and med school. I've lived half my life in Michigan, half my life in New England, and I've been down here in Southern Florida since 2019. I loved what I do. I loved anatomy. I love medicine and science, like my dad did. He was an OBGYN, ended up delivering 10,000 babies in the Detroit area after everything he went through. So that's kind of a punchline going back to the book. I was proud of my mom and dad, very happy to a good family, raised me with tolerance and education, travel, and they were well-rounded people. And I've been fortunate to have that kind of thing. And this book that I did, Not a Real Enemy, the true story of a Hungarian Jewish man's fight for freedom, is sort of my parents' legacy. This is my gift back to my parents, the Jewish people, and people in general, because it's about anti-Semitism and the perils of it. Even whatever happened 60, 80, 100 years ago is happening again today. And the sad thing for people like me is that even though the song remains the same, it's different the way people learn or morph into persecuting and maiming and killing, torturing people. They're doing it, but they're finding new ways to do it. And it's very saddening to me. We're going in the wrong direction as far as that goes.
So this book, and Robert, I haven't read the entire thing, but what I've read is just, it sucks you in. This is a great book, very well written. So when did you start this book? I assume you've been wanting to write it for many years. When did you start the book?
Well, it's a funny assumption, because if you knew me 8 years ago when I started the project, about 2018, you would say this guy would never write about the Holocaust. I mean, my parents were educators about history and the Holocaust, and I had Holocaust burnout, truthfully, even before I started this, Holocaust fatigue. She used to not lecture, but she would enlighten my wife and family and people around us about what happened to them. And my dad talked about it from time to time, especially when we had a family argument. He'd say, and he'd be yelling at me saying, "Oh, you Americans have it so easy. You have it good. You should have seen us starving and working in the forced labor camp and yada, yada." And he was right. But you're a kid, you're immature. You don't think much of it. And also, I was busy. I mean, college, med school, busy practicing radiology and family. So I never really got to it. Long story short, mom and dad did the autobiography. They wrote the stories in the 70s as though everything happened the previous day. It was very crisp and clear. Paper and pencil to typewriter to computer to disc. My dad passes in 1997. Unfortunately, my mom in 2016. A historian friend of mine, now the story's on a disc. She hands me the disc, says, "You got to read this." And I didn't think much of it at the time. 2017, I retired for a year. 2018, I went back to work for a friend. Never burn your bridges. It's a good lesson there. An old friend, an old partner needed help part-time. So I was reading x-rays and ultrasound out of Michigan. And that brought me back to the book. That brought me to the disc. And between cases, I was reading what my dad's story was. It's an autobiography. And I was so gripped by it. I was so enthralled that I motivated. I couldn't, the messages were clear and I couldn't just leave it on a computer. So I decided to turn my dad's autobiography into a biography. And 20 edits later and 4 years later, We finally got the book published and out with a traditional publisher, and it's been quite a ride, quite a journey. And I'm still doing it happily. It's my gift to my parents, my gift to educating about the Holocaust and hatred, and on and on and on. So 2018 is when I really started it. I didn't read the manuscript. I said long story short. It's not really short, but I read the manuscript probably 30 years ago and didn't think much of it at the time. I remembered his first escape, his first of four, but I didn't think much of the rest of it. But then I read it the second time and said, "Wow, 4 escapes, 20 miracles, cloak and dagger stories." Friends that you would think your friends were your enemies, people that you thought would be your enemies were your friends. Twists and turns. Just it's definitely gripping. People say it should be a movie. I agree. We're working on a documentary now. Actually, my nephew down here in Southern Florida has a studio, and so we're actually working on a short documentary about the story, Not a Real Enemy.
So I was really intrigued. Your grandparents were in, oh, I forget which country they were in, but they moved back to Hungary, I think, as a young physician, right?
Yeah,
And
Romania. Well, Romania, Transylvania. I mean,
oh,
you
Transylvania,
needed
right?
yeah, you needed a program to keep up with I call it anatomy. It's actually geography, but the way the borders changed between World War One, between the wars, World War Two. Yeah, you really needed a program just to keep up with. But yes, you're right. My dad's parents were, yeah, they were conflicted about whether to live in their native Hungary, where it turned out to be a perilous decision for them in the end, or Romania. But they loved Mother Hungary, so that's where they ended up. And they struggled for a while, as if you keep reading, you'll see they did struggle for a while before they finally had a dental. His dad was a dentist, a real threat to
Yes.
society. Before he finally had a thriving dental practice, and mostly Jewish. I think mostly Jewish patients. That's who they recruited. It was hard to get Christian patients, apparently.
So I'm at the point where your grandfather gets told that if he doesn't, that if a Christian dentist applies for his job, he'll lose his job. So I'm at the point where him and his wife are contemplating converting to Christianity on paper, I guess you would call it, in order so they don't get discriminated against. I don't want to spoil the book, of course, but can you tell me how that goes? I mean, that's such an intriguing. Can you imagine somebody today having to convert to avoid discrimination?
You got 5 hours. I'll read the whole book to you if you want. They do end up converting, and much to my grandmother, the grandparents I never met. They perished at Auschwitz in 1944. And a miracle that my dad found out what actually happened to them by an eyewitness, months later. But no, my mom was my dad. My grandmother, my dad's mother, was she was very, very sad about having to convert. But they were trying to do what they had to do to survive, and nevertheless, my dad's father had a government job at some point, and they still let him go. Somehow they knew that he had converted, and he was actually Jewish, and no salary, no benefits, and eventually they just had to let him go. And my dad's father had to start again on his own. Fortunately, they had a rich relative, a well-off relative in the area, who
Yeah.
it was a relative of my grandfather, and he never met him, but he looked him up, and with hat in hand, just a tail between his legs, that kind of thing, because he was shy and proud and didn't want to ask for help. So he did, and the cousin um, actually financed a new practice, so X-ray equipment, dental equipment, and on one condition, that they convert back to Judaism. And that must have been the happiest day of my grandparents' lives, is that they wanted to convert back to Judaism. And it's nothing against Christianity. I mean, when people ask about Judaism versus Christianity, a rabbi many years ago said the Jewish religion was established when Christianity came out, and so it was hard for people to change and to convert. And we're talking about obviously 2026 years ago, but the Jewish religion had been established thousands of years before that. So there was a lot of dissonance and a lot of people converted too, as you know, and just to survive. Sadly, my mom's
Yeah,
uncle converted to communism to
huh.
survive towards that,
Wow.
before the end of the war, and it saved him at first. But the communists couldn't be trusted either, which is an ongoing process. And my mom's parents got a divorce to save their family during the rise of anti-Semitism. So very, very sad. A bad reason for a divorce, but they ended up in two different countries and outside of Hungary. Very smart to do that.
So I know one of your goals is to fight to bring awareness to the history of anti-Semitism, and of course, I see this book more as if anybody wants a thriller or adventure story, this is the ultimate one. But how do you see that your work, your promotion, your story, how does that affect that?
Well, the book has won 4 awards, and that's a miracle in itself.
Oh yeah,
But
we need to talk through that. I didn't
well,
put
I'm
that
just
up on
saying.
the
Well,
screen,
what
but
I was going to say, there's a point to that, is because well, I'm not the type to pat myself in the back or sit on my laurels. I mean, I'm happy about it. People that are knowledgeable, they're in the know, they realize the quality of the work and the importance of the work. I owe a big team a lot of thanks for that. My co-author Janice, my publisher, my friend Mark, who helped me with the website, and on and on. But in the end, it doesn't mean squat if it doesn't help me in the fight against anti-Semitism. So that's my big point: is that my parents wrote this as though they knew I was going to rewrite it and share it with people. And don't you hate it when your parents are right, even posthumously? But they were right, and they knew that anti-Semitism would rear its ugly head. And like I might have mentioned before, no matter whatever happened 60, 80, 100 years ago in little known Hungary, is happening now. And like I said, it was just different ways to maim, kill, torture, persecute, and it's a really sad thing. So my job is to educate, try to get the 99% of us that are actually normal, family, loving, uh, God fearing, respectful people, and just embrace them and have them, let's say, what's the word, gang up on those few the haters, the protesters, the people calling for the death of Israel and the United States. What do you and I have to do with Gaza? Nothing. I mean, I'm just telling a story about a man and a family that were persecuted, and trying to transfer that into a lesson that, please, let's pay attention, because the Holocaust did happen. People deny it. People deny
isn't that
911.
crazy?
People deny 911. I mean,
Yeah, it's
the
crazy.
Nazis took more photos than anybody. I've got some disturbing photos that I posted online, and some I haven't because they're so disturbing that they make me want to upchuck. But they took pictures and they sent them home, and this is what we're doing. We're killing people and starving them and torturing them, and so it's unacceptable. And it's the same thing happened with Gaza. Prisoners for years, no dental care, no health care. Who knows what their nutrition was? No daylight, no communications, and then people raped, that kind of thing. People set on fire, babies, pets killed in front of people, private parts chopped off. Yeah, it's just disgusting. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of effort. It's so negative. And as a radiologist in medicine, for us, the anatomy, the beauty of the cell, the beauty of the anatomy, the beauty of how a person functions and built, from a medical standpoint, and never mind just people, dogs, cats, giraffes, you name it. And these people wouldn't think twice about beheading somebody or killing somebody in just a matter of seconds. And it's hard to digest that. That's for sure. So it makes my it makes my motivation even stronger.
Yeah, it's people rewrite history, I think, sometimes so they can repeat it. And I'll never forget. I went to a big meeting one time years ago. Not, I guess it was probably 10 years after 9/11, and it's a big crowd. I think it was at a church or something, but it wasn't a sermon. But I was sitting there in the audience, and this video comes on with the World Trade Center and the planes flying into it. And this whole part of this meeting was about how that was a conspiracy of our own government to kill all these people. And I'm like, I got up and walked out. I'm like, this has got to be the most ridiculous thing. It's kind of like the Holocaust deniers. It's the pictures are right there, but yet they'll color them in and try to call them something different.
It's disgusting. I remind people that 911 was attack on America. Jews died, African Americans, Asians, Muslims, Christians. A lot of people died, and not only that, people got ill. The cost was ridiculous, and the inconvenience. Obviously, we know what it's like to travel, what a pain in the ass it is. And
Oh
like
yeah.
I've always said, it's just one guy that ruins it for everybody. Osama bin Laden, Hitler, Pol Pot, Saddam Hussein, Castro. The list goes on. Mussolini, and it always ends badly. First, thousands of people, millions of people got to sacrifice their lives or their livelihood for these people and their agenda, and it always ends up badly for them too. So, and that was 911 as well. So it happened. So did the Holocaust. You don't get to believe in the Old Testament and not that. Well, you can believe in the Old Testament, not the New Testament. That's not me necessarily, because I think Jesus was a great leader, and that's another point that I bring up, is that people should be listening to Jesus and MLK and Gandhi, Moses, Noah, people that are real heroes, people that are really dedicated to freedom, equality, religion, whatever the case may be, mostly a combination, and not follow these idiots, these useful idiots, these people that led that called for the killing of a race or a nation or a religion. So I'm trying to adjust people into that kind of mentality too. But 9/11 was the last time this country seemed like we were cohesive. It was already 25 years ago. Before that, maybe World War II. Vietnam, no. Korea, no. 9/11, after a few weeks or a few months, no, it just kind of went away. And then coronavirus made it worse, I think, for communication skills have gone down. And, well, I'm communicating with you and many others about this subject. There's a lot of problems in this world, but this is my little corner of it, is the fight against anti-Semitism. I can't fight homelessness and starvation and distracted driving and, government malfeasance, that kind of thing. But this is my little corner. If you stop hatred, it's a good start. If you love thy neighbor, not to be corny, but that's where it starts.
It's an excellent area. I admire what you're doing. So your dad, your grandparents are obviously, towards the beginning of the book, are very upset. Their son gets called to go to where they're not sure. The rumors are there could be death camps. It could be, but they're calling it a work camp. So he runs into an old friend. You talk about, I want to spoil a little bit of the book for myself, but your frenemies, your friends. So he finds Frank. Now, does Frank stick with him? I mean, they're sleeping with the pigs. Essentially, they're making them sleep in these almost like outhouses for animals, and they're having to work. They can't pee in the water because if they do, that's the drinking water too. So, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm trying to tease viewers enough to realize they got to read this book. But what happens to your dad and Frank? I mean, how
that's great. That's a great question. You're right. The conditions were deplorable. I mean, and they had to walk at least an hour or two every day to go get their equipment or food. It wasn't always around. So yeah, the deplorable conditions, sleeping in a stall, basically on hay. At one point they had places where they had bunks, but they were crappy. They had to double up, triple up, and turn simultaneously. And they were starving all the time. They were always hungry. And Frank, he ended up meeting Frank coincidentally, his hometown buddy. Thank God for that, because I think that helped my dad with his courage. It helped him with his strength. It helped him with his hope and determination. And it was a great team. They also had this friend Mike who was around, and the bullies from my dad's high school. So here's the enemies you would think were your enemies. The bullies, the guys that were there for a year already, that bullied these kids, were in the same boat. So they ended up being a lot nicer to the younger guys when they got there, and my dad completely unexpected it. On the other hand, the Orthodox Jews stuck together in their own little clique, and they shunned the non-Orthodox Jews, which is hard to believe. You guys are all in the same boat, and that didn't sit well with me. And people that read that say, why you might be an Orthodox Jew and you believe in God and you go by the book, but you still have to respect other people and their beliefs. And how can you be Orthodox in a slave labor camp? You ate what you could to survive. None of it's kosher, obviously. But yeah, having Frank, his first two escapes were with Frank, and maybe my dad wouldn't have escaped. The first one was in the middle of nowhere, out in the mountains, and boom, they thought they were on a death march, and the war was ending, whatever little news they had, and whether the Germans won or the Russians won, they felt they were screwed, and so they didn't know if they should end up in Hungary or Austria, and they just took off. And talk about, so you're gone, you've escaped, but where are you going to go? There's no light at the end of the tunnel, so there's that, and you feel it. I mean, you definitely feel it. It took them weeks or months just to find some place comfortable where they could, and even then, those were all short-term, short-lived entities. My dad and Frank got double-crossed by a guy driving a truck, offered to give him a ride somewhere in Budapest, dropped him off at what they called the dog pound, where they assembled escaped forced laborers. And there they were, back in another forced labor camp. Who knows whether they're going to be killed or tortured or sent to another forced labor camp. They escaped from there in downtown Budapest across Nazi headquarters. What a great story that is. I mean, it's split-second timing, a lot of luck. I like to think the hand of God. And a pack of cigarettes actually saved their lives in that story. So if you a comic book and a pack of cigarettes, and
a comic book and a pack of cigarettes,
brains and balls, just guts and strategy and risk tolerance that just kind of goes up throughout the story. Because my dad was, I think at some point he might have loved it, just having that kind of adventure. So yeah, Frank, thank God for Frank. And they were friends after the war. And another friend, Nick Orban, and Frank's daughter's still around. She's in California. With kids and grandkids, super nice. We stay in touch, and she sent me pictures from when Frank visited us in Michigan, and younger me with my Hungarian Vizsla, and pictures of us and my dad with his friends, and that was kind of cool. And back then, I had no idea what they had gone through, not a clue. And now I'm like, I kind of wish I could have that moment back just to, give him another hug. It is what it is, but it's never too late to do the right thing. Never too late.
Yeah, anybody watching this should remember that. I mean, I lost my dad quite a few years ago, and you always think about that. If you had 5 more minutes or a few more days or another week, especially as kids, because you really, like you said, you just don't respect. And that's God designed us that way, so we'll get out and take care of ourselves. So
Sorry for your loss. I mean, it never goes away. I mean, you try to live your life and be functional and enjoy your own family, but yeah, once in a while you get these memories. And for me, with this, I'm not the best, most religious Jew, but at least I'm honoring my father and my mother many, many times over. So I guess that's my role here. And it's hard. It's emotional when you read about these stories. We go on. We end up the book in Vienna, but my dad went on until like the 70s, and they talked about their travel, and they talked about the harrowing trip from Vienna to the United States and what they had to go through. And part of that was the day I was born in 1962, and my dad talking about me being born, and I had to walk away with tears with that because, of course, I was too young to remember, but it was emotional. And the other emotional part that I had to walk away was when I found out my dad's parents, how they perished at Auschwitz. I just had to, because I didn't realize the details, and that was at least a week away, from working on the project. It's a very emotional, happy ending, happy stories, sad stories, but no sugarcoating in this book at all.
That's great. So these awards that you've received, which probably 4 of many more, I hope, but what are the awards that this book has gotten so far?
Well, I don't have it memorized anymore, so I'm going to show you the book real quick.
Okay.
If I may.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read it off that because
that
question doesn't come up all the time. But I don't know if we're going to get more awards because these all kind of came within the year after the book came out, 2023 or so. But the Nautilus Book Awards, that was the first one. The NIEA National Indie Excellence Award, the Living Now Book Awards, and the Reader's Favorite Book Award. And that one actually went to my publisher who notified me about that. So the copy that you see in the background only has the one award because my publisher wasn't about to change the book cover like every time I won an award. And the 4 awards kind of came all in succession within a couple of months. So that was really that was very pleasing, like I said, but I'm not sitting on my laurels with that. I mean, good news, but very grateful to have that honor. And like I said, it doesn't mean squat if the book doesn't help me in the fight against anti-Semitism.
So I know it's available on Amazon and Audible. I downloaded the Audible book yesterday or day before yesterday, but get it on Amazon. Is it available also in traditional booksellers like Barnes and Noble and stuff like that?
Sure, it sure is. Well, thank you for the purchase. I hope you enjoy the rest of the book.
I will.
The Audible guy was great. It was a friend of mine here in Southern Florida gave me these free. We vetted out about 10 people to do it, and then there's this Australian guy who's reasonably priced and very good. And but yes, on Amazon, there's a hardback, there's a paperback, it's on ebook or Audible. The ebook you can get free if you've got the Amazon, whatever the subscription,
right.
And it's not It's not really expensive anyway. And the audiobook, I don't think is that expensive. None of them are expensive, but also Barnes and Noble. It's in several stores in Barnes and Noble throughout the country. But you can go online or you can go to the local Barnes and Noble and please ask them, let's get the book on the shelf.
Yeah.
I would love that. Also Walmart. And it's for sale at least 4 Holocaust museums. The Mothership U.S. Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., where I've done 4 book signings. And that's a whole half-hour discussion. That was great. A great experience teaching kids and families from all over the world. It's also on sale at the Holocaust Museum in Long Island, the Zeckelman Center. It's a Holocaust center in Michigan, and the Illinois Holocaust Museum and Tolerance Center, where we did a great presentation a few years ago as well. You can find the book. If you Google me, Robert J. Wolf, MD, or if you Google Not a Real Enemy, you'll find it. And find me on social media. We're all over the place. Meta, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Blue Sky. So I'm easy to find.
What's Blue Sky?
Is the website. Sorry. And we have a great YouTube channel. They're loaded with content. And that's Not a Real Enemy by Robert Wolf. So Google those or just go to Amazon and easy to find.
Yeah, and when we publish this, I'll definitely put some links in the description so people can get there.
Very kind. I love the photos in the background too. By the way, you're one of the few hosts that have done that, and it's fantastic. It's just it's moving. We're not just talking here. You're seeing what my dad, right now we're looking at the forced laborers being carted away. That was Kristallnacht. That was in 1938, before my dad's time. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I think, I think when you read the book, when I read a book, anyways, I always like to get a visual of where it's happening, especially a biographical book. So, and with the internet these days, that's pretty easy to do. So, um, so and I'll just tell you, I published my first book about a year and a half ago, and got a second one that I hope to publish soon. So I would encourage. Yeah. So it's.
Well, what's the title of the second one? We got to give you a little.
The second one is called The Meth Cartel, and it's about it's a suspense thriller about the methamphetamine and an evil pharmaceutical company, if you will. Oh, surprise!
Tell me about pharmaceuticals. I'm on the wrong end of the needle now after 35 years of medicine.
Yeah,
I get
you
that.
are.
So you must have enjoyed Breaking Bad. What a great show that was about the methamphetamine trafficking. I want to say what's New Mexico. I want to say, so not too far.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Fantastic show, well done. And sad that our country's still fighting all these drugs. I don't know if some kid in college wants to smoke a little marijuana or have a beer or something. That's no big thing to me. But even cigarettes are bad. Alcohol, turns out, over time is bad. And never mind methamphetamine. Losing your teeth, losing your life, losing your dignity, losing all of it. I mean, and then of course back in the day, heroin and cocaine. I understand cocaine's coming back, and it's relatively inexpensive. Very sad. Yeah. Trump and his crew, and they're trying to. And that's my thing about politics. I know you're a politician, and I'm not, but I look for fiscal responsibility, drop down our national debt, border security, and good defense, and of course healthcare. Those are my big things that I want to go. As long as the government's pointing at the enemies and not pointing at me or my family or friends, I'm satisfied. But of course,
I think radiology probably gave you a look at the long-term damages from these drugs. I mean, of course, meth in my mind is unique in that it sometimes with one use your total identity is changed. Not only your teeth, but your brain is tweaked. In my opinion, it's the absolute worst drug. And I'm a pharmacist too. I'm not seeing the side you see, but I saw.
But I'm not a dentist, so I don't read it. I mean, we do facial X-rays, skull X-rays, and certainly CT scans and MRIs of the oral cavity. But a lot of times it's for cancers. It wasn't for missing teeth or whatever. It's just the personality change. LSD was one that hooked immediately. Heroin, and now fentanyl, of course. All these derivatives of heroin and morphine. It's just sad that the stuff still circulates. People, sobriety is. I'm not saying everybody should be sober, but think before you act and put something in your body, because it's all toxic. Whether you eat it, inject it, swallow it, sniff it, snort it, it's just think twice about eat a banana or an orange instead.
There you go.
Or take a walk. Try to substitute it with something else.
That's right. You're right. Well, Robert, I'm excited to read the rest of the book. What else did we not cover? What is other things you want to tell people about the book and your journey there?
Before I do, I just want to hear the title of your first book, so I might delve into that too.
It's 2084, Trump and the Bill of Freedom. So it's not about Donald Trump, although you can't do a political book in this time of history without his name coming up. But it's a dystopian thriller. It's not apocalyptic. It's not post-apocalyptic, but it's a dystopian where the government, pretty much controls everybody, and we have a band of rebels that want to take it back. So I love it. I think it took me years to write that when I published that about a year and a half ago.
Sounds like 1984 on steroids, if you remember.
It is. There's some politics in it because I'm steeped in politics. So I think if you like dystopian, you like thrillers, you like a little dash of politics, it's really good.
Well, Pluribus reminds me of that too. I don't know if you saw the miniseries Pluribus, but it's kind of everybody knows everything you do, and there were very, very few normal people, and everybody else was whatever you want to call it, hypnotized or sucked into whatever the system was. I thought it was okay, but Breaking Bad was probably a lot better to me. All right. Anything else to say? Well, we talk about determination. We talk about hope. We talk about loneliness. We talk about integrity. My dad and his friend Frank were men of integrity for sure. Determination, and ultimately resilience, of course, and ultimately redemption. You know, my dad delivering 10,000 babies. It's a form of redemption. It doesn't bring back the 50 or 60 million that died in World War II. A statistic that, I mean, it's not a statistic. It's a lot of people. One is enough, let alone 50 or 60 million. Never mind what the communists did to the Eastern Europeans between killing, torture, et cetera, and even now with Ukraine and other places, of course. But yeah, so redemption, the 10,000 people doesn't bring all that, but it's bringing life back into the community. And like I said earlier, give back to the community, give to your neighbor, buy a cup of coffee, ask your neighbor if they need a favor, volunteer at a library, a museum, a hospital, write a book, write a play, write a poem, spend more time with your family, you know, give back to the community, do something productive, go travel. We have a very short time on this lovely planet. Don't waste it. Don't go protesting and be destructive and calling for the death of people. Do something that's productive. That starts. Educate your kids into being peaceful, and send them to schools where you've got your arms around what they're teaching them, and it should include history, and it should include tolerance, and maybe even a lecture by myself or some of my colleagues that are writing on the same topic. No substitute for experience. I tell the med students and residents. And it's true with writing. It's true in medicine. It's true when you do interviews, whatever it is. There's no substitute for experience. Be a team player, I always say. Realize that what happened to my dad could happen to anybody, could happen to you or me. I might have already said this, a bad neighbor, a bad business deal, a bad local government, federal government, foreign government, natural disaster. We could be on the run. We could be homeless, not knowing where next meal is going to come from, where we're going to sleep, where I was going to work again. And for the Jews, it was worse. You knew you couldn't get a job. You knew if you were caught, you'd be imprisoned or killed. And so when you're on the run or hiding, it's talk about a source of anxiety. So appreciate, we might complain about our government sometimes, whether you're left or right. I prefer to hear center of the aisle instead of left side of the aisle, right side. I wish we were more cohesive, but realize we got to vote. We get to drive to work. We get to go to takeout, the Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, whatever. We can shop anytime. And these people back in Hungary couldn't, and for many, many years. And so appreciate our freedoms. We do get to vote. We do get to read. We do get to voice our opinions. And people, if you ask North Koreans if they'll talk about it, or Chinese, or Iranians, they didn't get to do that. Or people under Fidel Castro, people under these regimes, they didn't have that privilege. And I guess that's the big lesson. Appreciate what we have, because it can go away in a heartbeat. And I implore you to embrace peace. If you want to read the book, it's an adventure, like you said. It's not just teaching about anti-Semitism, but it is a great adventure, multiple miracles. And please reach out. I do book presentations and podcasts, or just write a review would be good. I mean, it goes
only 200, Robert. Only 200 events.
Only 200. I'm shooting for 3 now. 250. I don't know. It's hard. It is work, but I enjoy doing it. I enjoy meeting great people like you. That's the best thing about this, is meeting great people like you on a daily basis, interacting, and people that give a hoot, give a bleep, that care about what's going on in the world, and that's really the best part. So thank you so much for having me. And sorry, a little long-winded conclusion and closure, but it's so hard to get all the points in. Oh, by the way, 10% of my author proceeds go to the Holocaust Museum in DC. So that's a win-win. I'm educating, but I'm also contributing to an institution that also educates about this, and that's just a win-win. It's like I said. So.
Yeah, and talk about love over hate. I mean, social media these days, it's so vile. I mean, you post what you should be able to post whatever your thoughts are, whatever you believe. Obviously, truth in love. If you want to have something that people disagree with it, try to post it or say it. But the hatred online is unbelievable, and I don't know how that can be fixed. But it's if you like Biden or if you like Trump, Obama, whatever, you should be able to put that without people telling you you're Satan themselves for your opinion. If I
agree,
if I like Jews, if I don't like them, as long as I'm not anti-Semitic, I mean, it's free speech should not include somebody beating you down with hate until you submit and shut up. And so I appreciate you coming out and telling people to love one another, be with your family, put your priorities, where's your priorities? It's not about hate. It's about getting along and being part of humanity, right?
Absolutely. You bring up a concept, learned helplessness. When people tell you that you're no good anymore, and it's not just races and religions, it's kids, or animals.
Yes.
Teaching them that you're no good, and that eventually that sticks, and that's a really bad prognosis for somebody's long-term future as far as confidence and and proper interactions and things like that. So yeah, keep that off the grid. It'd be better just to share a nice photograph or something like that, a graduation party, a wedding, bar mitzvah, whatever, right? That kind of thing.
Right.
Stop
So
putting
we
them down.
want young people to do what you did, Robert, and that is you find something you want to do, you put your heart and soul. It's not easy writing a book, even with the great help that you might have had. That's not an easy task. I've been there. It takes a lot of work, a lot of late nights, and and some people may say, Robert, why are you doing this? Why are you spending all this time? But you must put your heart and soul in something. That life is too short. Follow those dreams. Do what your heart tells you to do, and then you end up with a great product like yours, which again, I've talked to other authors over the years. I don't think I've ever left with such a desire to finish a book like this one. So I would say everybody that watches this, pick up a copy, even if it's just the Audible one, but like you said, you can get the ebook for free. I like a hard copy, but pick it up and read it. But appreciate you, Robert, so much for coming on, and good luck. I hope you sell 1 million more copies.
Oh, thank you so much. It's very kind. You made my day. It's the best words I've heard all day, maybe all week. And right back at you. I wish you the best with your next book and your past book. Hopefully, people recirculate back to your last book with that. No, I'm very lucky. And people ask me at the end of presentations, well, why are you doing this? Because you just said it. I'm like, I've got absolutely no idea why I'm doing this. I should be chasing bikinis and golf balls, and here I am talking to producers and authors and all this dialogue. But I guess it's important enough to me to. And I'm not all modeling, like I said. I like other things: sports, music, foodie, gym, golf, travel, education, investing. So I got other things going on, but this is an important part of my life too. So appreciate you having me. Very grateful, and pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, same goes, Robert. Thanks so much, and good luck in everything.
Stay in touch, huh?
All right,
Appreciate
you
it.
too. All right.